Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a companion video to my Bendis video. If you didn't see that, I'll have it linked in here. You can go check it out. Thank you to everyone for all the support on that video. It literally took me months to make that video. It took a long time to put together, and so I'm so happy that you guys enjoyed it. Anyone that's been around the channel this year knows that I was always talking about the Bendis video and how I was working on it. It was eventually coming, and then I finally released it, and I'm so happy you guys liked it. But this video is to cover some things that I was not able to cover in that video because I covered a lot and mostly what I wanted to, but there were some other things about the Bendis Superman run that I'm not a fan of that I really wanted to cover. And also this is to address some comments on that video because some people are like, why didn't you talk about this, that, or the other, and whatever thing. So this is a companion video to that video to just talk more about it. And this is also off the top of my head. This isn't a scripted or anything like that. This is not like that video that's heavily edited and scripted and everything. This is just off the top of my head with some bullet points written down of some stuff that I wanted to talk about. So this is going to be a bit more rambling and less to the point than that video was. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. First thing I want to talk about is how Bendis handles other characters outside of the Kent family and Jor-El, since that was mainly what I covered in that video. Because the Justice League make multiple appearances in his book, and it's just, he writes them all out of character. There's this weird moment where Martian Manhunter visits Clark and tells him he should take over the world and lead it into the future. It's so odd. It's out of nowhere. It doesn't line up with how Martian Manhunter actually acts. It's just weird. It's like Bendis knew nothing about Martian Manhunter. It's like, he's a green alien. Obviously, he doesn't like humans. He'll do this. Like, Martian Manhunter comes to Superman and basically tells him humans aren't very good and they don't know what's right, but you do. You have a good moral compass, Clark. So you should tell them what to do and take over the world. You should take over the world and lead them in the future and tell them all what to do. Be a dictator. It's so odd and doesn't make any sense, but Martian Manhunter isn't the only character that Bendis writes weird. He does stuff with Batman that's odd. Like there's so I talked about a little bit in my video where the Earth gets put into the Phantom Zone, and just reasons, stuff happened, Earth ends up going to the Phantom Zone because of stuff that happened when Ra's al Ghul got put in the Phantom Zone. It's a whole thing. But anyways, because of that, you know, Earth is no longer where it was in space, so it throws things off. People are affected, and one of the ways that it affects Batman is he shits himself, and he decides to tell the entire Justice League that he did that. Like, they're all at different points on like the planet, and they're all like communicating over intercom, or Martian Manhunter has them linked, I can't remember, but either way they're all talking to each other, and Batman decides to tell the League that he crapped his pants. And it's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's just a whole Bendis gag that's like, oh, wouldn't this be quirky and funny if Batman told the League that he pooped his pants? That'd be funny, even though it doesn't make sense. It's just weird and stupid. Batman would never, if Batman pooped his pants, he wouldn't tell anyone, and why do you even need to have Batman poop his pants? It's not funny. It's just, it's so stupid, and it's a Bendis thing. And then there's another part where a character, Miss Good, I can't remember her first name because she's a forgettable character, but Perry White always calls her Miss Good, so that's what I'm going to call her. Her like alter ego is the Red Cloud. It's this really stupid character. But anyways, she gets some kryptonite because she's working for the secret mafia, and she's afraid that Superman, if she encounters Superman, she wants to have a way to fight him off. So she gets some kryptonite, and she brings it into the Daily Planet offices in her purse. So this causes Clark to get all like sick and everything and messed up, until he realizes what's causing this sickness is this kryptonite in her purse, because he uses his X-ray vision and locates it. So he decides to tell Batman to say, hey, this chick has some kryptonite, go steal it from her. So Batman goes and mugs Miss Good in like broad daylight, and then has a full-on conversation with her, and it's so weird, and Batman doesn't act like Batman at all. So he goes, he takes her purse, is like, oh, you have a weapon of mass destruction. She goes, no, it stops a weapon of mass destruction. And then Batman goes, oh yeah, good point, and then runs away with the kryptonite. And it's so weird. Like, one, Batman wouldn't just have a conversation with her. Two, he wouldn't just agree with this lady and like kind of throw Superman under the bus and be like, oh yeah, Superman is a weapon of mass destruction. It's so stupid. And another thing is, why would Superman call Batman to do this and not like the Flash? Why wouldn't he call Barry and be like, hey, go take this because, you know, you're so fast, you can do this without her even seeing you? It's kind of odd that Batman just comes out of nowhere and takes her kryptonite. Like, that kind of, you know, sets off some alarms. But if the Flash does it and she wouldn't know and it's just suddenly gone, who knows what happened to it? You know, draw your own conclusions. But Batman does it. It's very obvious kind of what's going on. And so it didn't make sense from Superman's perspective. Also, I hate the inconsistency in how kryptonite affects Clark. Like, Superman fights so many different villains that use kryptonite, for one of the main ones being Metallo, who has a gigantic chunk of kryptonite that's way bigger than the piece of kryptonite she had in her purse. He has that exposed on his chest while fighting Superman all the time, and Superman's able to fight him just fine. But a tiny little piece of kryptonite is in her purse, and it's like across the office from Clark, and he can't move. He's too sick to even do anything. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't get that. Like, that's something that I've hated in Superman comics a lot. Bendis does it here, to where it's like, oh, here Superman can fight through it and is fighting people that use kryptonite. Here, Superman struggles a little shard. It hasn't been too big of a problem in comics. It's mainly a big problem in, like, interpretations of Superman. So, like, on-screen interpretations. So, like, the cartoons and the movies and stuff, they don't understand how kryptonite works. They're like, oh, if there's this tiny little speck of kryptonite, then Superman's useless and can't do anything. And it doesn't make sense. But, yeah, Bendis continues that here. And then, one of the comments I wanted to address was New 52 Superman, because some people were mad that I said I didn't like New 52 Superman, because I didn't. There were some good stories with New 52 Superman, though, so don't get me wrong there. It's not like it was all bad, but there was a lot of just mediocre Superman stories during New 52, and in the beginning they kind of tried to make him a bit more of a cool guy, and like I didn't really like it. I hated DCU, what they did with Superman Truth. That was terrible. But New 52 Superman did have some good stories. I liked what Jeff Johns did with, I believe it was called Men of Tomorrow. His run was great. I mean, if you can deal with John Romita Jr.'s art, that run is great. I really enjoyed what Greg Pak did with Action Comics up until Truth, but there's like 2 or 3 really solid volumes of Action Comics by Greg Pak. That was really good. Grant Morrison did some good stuff with Action Comics. I didn't love all of it, but some of it was good. I honestly need to reread that. It's been so long since I've read Grant Morrison's Action Comics. But yeah, there were some good New 52 Superman stories, but I kind of hated how they got rid of all of his history, and they broke up him and Lois to make it to where, oh, now it's now it's Superman and Wonder Woman, which I just felt was kind of stupid and was very much, oh, they're both two powerful people, so they should be banging each other. That's how it works, because they're both powerful. And also I thought it was another way to make people see Superman as being more of a cool guy instead of like, you know, oh, nerdy Clark Kent dating Lois Lane. No, it's Superman banging Wonder Woman, the hottest chick in the DC universe. Do you guys like Superman now? Is he cool now? Like, that's how I kind of felt it was, and I didn't really care for that. But again, New 52 Superman was not all bad. I much prefer New 52 Superman to Bendis Superman. There were some great stories in New 52 that are definitely worth checking out and reading, so don't get me wrong there. It's just I didn't have the time in my video to go into that, and that's, yeah, I didn't really have the time to go into that, and it wouldn't have fit in the video. But there were good New 52 Superman stories that you should definitely check out if you have not read. And also, I forgot, I really enjoyed what Tomasi did at the end with New 52 Superman, when they killed New 52 Superman. I thought that was handled well. Something else that people brought up, a couple people that were defenders of Bendis were like, oh, you just want Superman to be perfect, and that's why you don't like what he's saying. How come you don't like the anger issues Superman has? Superman's not perfect. He has anger issues. Yeah, of course Superman's not perfect. But at the same time, Superman has enough control to not get so angry that he needs to go and find something to punch. It's weird because there's multiple times in the book where Superman gets so angry that he has no way to deal with his anger other than to hit something. One time he goes around, he finds Mongol and hits him. And also it was weird because it was in the middle of his son that had just gotten back from his space adventure that he hadn't seen like 3 weeks, telling him about what was going on. But in the middle of that, Clark's like, oh, I'm so angry I need to leave to hit something. And then there's another time when he leaves and goes and hits some asteroids. It's like, that just doesn't add up with Superman. Yeah, he'll get angry, obviously, but he doesn't need to hit something. Like, I mean, just think of yourself or someone you know. Like, people get angry. It doesn't mean they have to hit something when they get angry. That doesn't, like, why would Superman have to hit something when he gets angry? Just because he has super strength? Doesn't make any sense, and I don't think it works with the character or makes sense. But of course Superman is flawed, but in that way, not so much. He can get angry, but he doesn't need to hit something. Another thing people were mad about in my video was the use of the term cuck. Now, let me say this. I don't use the term cuck in any, like, really other way outside of my videos. That's not a term I use really ever as an insult or anything like that. I'll use it jokingly occasionally, but for the most part, I don't really use the word cuck. The reason I used it here was because it's exactly what he made Clark. It's not like some sort of figuratively he's a cuck. No, he is literally a cuck in this book. That's why I used it. There's no other word I could think of that encapsulated what Clark is, because in the book, according to the public view, Bendis has it to where everyone sees that Clark knowingly sees that Superman is making out with his wife, and obviously people make that connection, they're banging also, and Clark is fine with that. So Clark is therefore is a cuck to the public view. That's why I use that word. There were so many people like, oh, get over yourself being an edgelord using the word cuck and stuff like that. It's like, I wasn't doing it for that. I'm doing it because that's the only term that fits. That's exactly what he makes Clark. Lois even makes Clark a cuck as well when she tells her father that Superman is the man she's in love with and Superman is actually the father of her child and not Clark. She doesn't tell her father that Clark and Superman are one and the same. She says that she's in love with Superman and he's the father of her child. And so that shows her father, who she's telling this all to, Sam Lane, that Clark is a cuck that is raising a kid that's not his. Like, it's not something to be like, oh, edgelord. It's because that's the term that fits, so that's why I used it. But thought I would address that. And then another thing was something that I hated from the book was the handling of Zod, because man, it could have been so cool. There was an opportunity here for Bendis to do something cool with Zod. So there's a part in the book where Superman gets all angry and he's like, man, if I cut loose, I could actually defeat Ragazar. Because, you know, a big thing of Superman is he's always holding back. Because if you cut loose, like, who knows what can happen. So many people can get hurt, a lot more collateral damage. He can't cut loose. He has to hold back for the most part. And so in this, he's like, man, if I let go, I could defeat him. But that's all taken out the window because Zod comes in, and Zod is essentially as powerful as Superman. He's not quite as powerful because he hasn't been absorbing the yellow sun as long as Superman has, but he's still up there. He's very close. So he fights Ragazar and gets his ass completely kicked. I thought this would have been a cool moment for Zod to come in and kill Ragazar. Now, he fights Ragazar because Ragazar's whole thing is he hates Kryptonians, and he destroyed the Ball City of Kandor, so Zod wants to avenge Kandor. And I thought it would have been awesome if Zod comes in and kills Ragazar, and then there are so many different story opportunities from there that could have been really cool. But instead, he just has Zod get his ass kicked by Ragazar, and then Ragazar fakes then Zod fakes working for Ragazar, and then him and Superman team up to fight Ragal, and it's just stupid and not interesting at all. It would have been so much cooler if Zod would have beat him, and also it defeated the whole part where Superman's like, oh, if I didn't hold back, I could beat him, because Zod's obviously not holding back. So that would have been cool to see that setup, to be like, oh, Superman said if he didn't hold back, he could beat him, and then Zod comes in and beats him. It's like, oh, that makes sense. That was kind of set up. But Clark didn't do that. And then one of the last things I want to talk about is people were talking about how, oh, why are you complaining about this? Comics don't last forever. It'll be rebooted. It's because I'm not just going to sit here and consume what they give me and just be a good boy and not talk about it and be like, oh, yes, I know this will be rebooted, so I'll sit here for 2, 3, 4, 5 years while they ruin my favorite character and not say anything about it. I really do not get that mindset from people where, like, something that you love is being ruined and people go, oh, it won't last forever, so shut up about it. It's like, no. I love this character. Superman's my favorite character of all fiction. I'm going to voice my displeasure. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not just going to sit here and take it and just be like, oh, yes, I'm sorry, DC Comics. I don't want to upset you. I will just wait till you reboot. No. Of course, this isn't going to last forever. I even mentioned it at the end of my video how comics are ever changing. I know it's not going to last forever, but that doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and just let it happen. I'm going to do what I can to let DC Comics know that this is a bad idea and they should stop doing this. I already took the books off my pull list. I let my displeasure with the series be known. Like, this is how I let them know that they should change back to DC, like what they were doing with DC Rebirth, where the fans were happy. I'm not just going to sit here and take it, but yeah. That's about it for what I wanted to cover for my companion video. Again, thank you guys so much for the support on the video. I appreciate it. I have a couple ideas for my next project. I'm not sure exactly yet what I'm going to do, but I have a couple different ideas of what I'm going to work on for the next one. I appreciate it. I got just a couple projects out last year, like my Heroes in Crisis video and Bendis video. I'm going to try to do more this year. It's just I do have a full-time job, so it's not easy to work on these. They take a long time to make these type of videos. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and thank you guys so much for watching, supporting the videos, subscribing, and everything. And I'll see you guys later.